Please, have a seat, please. Good afternoon, shipmates.
Good afternoon.
And it is a group of shipmates. It's the active duty, the reserve, the auxiliary, the civilians. We're all here. And our extended members of the family as well. And it's great to be back here at Bolling Air Force Base. I think most of you know I'm kind of a traditional guy. And I like going back to traditions. We've gone to a couple of different venues over the last 8 or 9 years or so. And I think it's great to be back here, and I'm just really energized by the turnout that we've had today. And I'm really energized by the fact that for someone who has always presented himself as low-tech, we're going out to the rest of the Coast Guard as well today. So welcome to everybody in the field, and welcome to all of you. It's great to be here with you. I'm also honored to see members of our Department of Homeland Security, where the Coast Guard anchors and so proudly serves, as well as colleagues from many of the components. It's also great to see our interagency partners and also staff from our congressional oversight committees. Thank you for being here. I'm particularly honored to have a number of Coast Guard retirees here, in fact, quite a few. We put out the word we wanted to get the retired flags and SES, and we thought we were going to get, if we were lucky, 15 or 20. We've got 44 that are coming into town, both for this, an event tonight, and some briefings tomorrow. So we're gratified by the response that we've had. Now, someone suggested to me it's the fact that I'm going to be serving drinks at the quarters tonight that brought them all in, but I know that you're here because you care about our service, and we're grateful for that. In particular, I want to recognize the former commandants here today, Admiral James Gracie. Sir, what a privilege to have you here. And Admiral Bob Kramick, thank you, sir, as well. I respect the two of you so much, and for you to take the time out of your busy schedules to be with us, we're grateful for that. I'd also like to extend a special welcome to our national support organizations, of course, the Coast Guard Foundation, the Navy League, the Reserve Officers Association, the Military Officers Association of America, the USO, the VFW, and so many others. Thanks for being here, as well as members of industry that provide such great support to our service. And then I'd also like to thank Linda for being here. Between you and me, she's had a busy month or so. Just with family obligations, we've only been in the house for about 3 weeks. Our new home here is here on Bolling. And between moving, helping others move, some family situations that come up, she still found time to get out and help our Coast Guard family. I'm just so proud of her, and I'd just like to thank her publicly for all the work that she's been doing for our service. So thanks to all of you for your steadfast and continuing support for our service and for our people. So did anybody notice there was a football game last weekend? Any cheeseheads or Packers fans in the crowd? Not so much here. Wow. Well, I've always admired the Packers. Even though I was a Giants fan growing up, I admired the Packers. Oh, it was either Wayne Jim Law and Wayne Justice. Okay. Well, I think I admire the Packers because of Vince Lombardi. And Vince Lombardi has a quote that I've used before that I really love. The year he was hired, which was in the early 60s, actually I think he came to the team in the late 50s, but when he came in on his first day, he went into the locker room with the team. The team had won only one of their 12 games the previous year. And he looked them in the face, and the first thing he did was he thanked them for the opportunity to be their coach. And then he turned to them and he said, "Gentlemen, we are going to relentlessly pursue perfection, knowing full well that we will not catch it because nothing is perfect. But we are going to relentlessly chase it because in the process, we will catch excellence." I've always thought that was a great line. And if you think about it, I think it has some applicability to our service as well and some of the themes I'm talking about today. So I'd ask you to keep that in mind. We've had another year of very challenging events, both the unprecedented Deepwater Horizon response, as well as our many other challenging maritime missions. So what I'd like to do is start off by recognizing a few of you, members of the Coast Guard family, whose actions have truly honored our profession. The first I'd like to introduce is MKC John D. Francisco. Chief, could you stand for just a moment? He comes from the Cutter Oak, one of our seagoing buoy tenders that just, by the way, happens to be capable of skimming oil. So you can imagine what he was doing. During the Deepwater Horizon oil spill cleanup, Chief D, as he's known, worked on deck in the blazing sun to transfer oil Oak had collected. Now, he did this with a smile, all the while also acting as the ship's engineer officer as well as the command chief. Not surprisingly, he was recently offered an appointment to warrant officer. Chief, thank you and congratulations. From the reserve side of our family, Petty Officer William Hilt, right here. Doc, good to see you. Now, he's assigned to Port Security Unit 312, and they deployed to the Middle East for 6 months. But in preparation, in 5 days, he executed 140 health assessments to ensure PSU 312 was ready for deployment. He worked long hours to transfer medical information into the Navy system so that he would ensure in-theater care providers could take care of his shipmates in PSU 312. Not surprisingly, he was just advanced to HS2 as of 1 February, so congratulations to you as well, and thank you. Auxiliarist Donald C. Hoagie, right in front of me, from the 7th Coast Guard District. Don tirelessly worked to provide support during Haitian earthquake response, and he's currently serving as the auxiliary coordinator for Sector St. Petersburg. Thanks for deploying down to Haiti. We appreciate your work and your volunteerism, and keep up the great work. Thank you. Then finally, from our civilian side of the family, our civilians who are so important to the way we get our business done, and a longtime shipmate of mine from the 9th Coast Guard District, Mrs. Renee Sikora. Renee? Renee was just awarded the DHS Supervisory Chief Financial Officer Award for exemplary performance. She showed great fiscal leadership, providing superb technical oversight to 77 field units as she executed a $31 million operations budget. During the fiscal year closeout this year, she identified significant challenges with our financial management software. We've never heard that before, have we? She promptly developed a fix, enable the entire Great Lakes region to meet their reporting requirements. Renee, thank you very much for all your efforts. And finally, though he's not able to be with us here today, I'd like to recognize Admiral Thad Allen. Our country is very fortunate to have a leader like Admiral Allen, and our service is fortunate to be able to produce leaders of his caliber. There are many more in our ranks, but it was Admiral Allen who, in the final months of his service and beyond, stepped forward to lead the Deepwater Horizon response. That our nation instinctively turned to the Coast Guard says a lot about the trust the American people have in our service. But as Coast Guardsmen, it was a shared moment of intense pride for our entire service. But you know, Admiral Allen didn't do it all by himself. So if you participated in Deepwater Horizon, whether as a leader or one of the 3,000 people that we deployed down to the front lines, or as one of the thousands of mission support personnel who helped out the operation, or if you're still on scene helping with the cleanup, and I suspect this should cover just about everybody in the crowd and on the web today, I'd like to have you give yourselves a round of applause for all your efforts down there. Now, while today's address is styled as State of the Coast Guard, I'd like to treat it as an all-hands opportunity to speak directly to the men and women of the United States Coast Guard. So what is the state of the Coast Guard today? Well, I can report that we're ready to meet mission demands, but we're facing some very real challenges. But when you're facing challenges, it's reassuring to be surrounded by a good crew. And I'm surrounded by a great team of senior leaders, and I need every one of their perspectives, and here's why. I'm a ship captain and a cutterman at heart. I see things through the lens of a ship captain. I can't separate my identity from my perspective. The senior leaders that surround me view the Coast Guard from slightly different lenses, but the one constant is that each of them has a track record of telling me the truth, no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it is. But a captain is also responsible for the safe navigation of the ship. John Maxwell, an internationally recognized leadership expert, states that, quote, "Nearly anyone can steer a ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. Before leaders take people on a journey, they must become navigators and go through a process in order to give the trip the best chance of success. Navigators draw on past experience. Navigators examine conditions before making commitments. Navigators listen to what others have to say," end quote. So with these rules in mind, I took a fix on the Coast Guard back last year about this time to assess exactly where we were and to develop principles to chart the course ahead. When I assumed the watch just over 8 months ago, I told you we are defined by our missions, our people, and our heritage. I also told you that we will selflessly serve our country and perform our duties in a manner which, 1, steadies the service, 2, honors our profession, 3, strengthens our partnerships, and 4, respects our shipmates. Those are my 4 principles. They provide focus to be ready today and to be prepared for tomorrow. Now, while I originally planned on focusing on them 1 each year throughout my tenure, starting with Steady the Service, it quickly became apparent that we need to be working on all 4 all the time. So today I'm releasing my Commandant's direction. My direction is the sailing plan for my watch. It's designed to keep the service focused on pursuing my 4 principles. My direction's priorities are sustain mission excellence, recapitalize and build capacity, enhance crisis response and management, and prepare for the future. And you can link, those of you out in the internet audience, you can link to my Commandant's direction on our website, the Senior Leadership page. Many of you in the room, I think, are sitting on it right now. But I hope you take them home with you and read them. And one of the toughest challenges is sustaining mission excellence. That's why I've made it the first of my priorities. We've had too many accidents lately. We've had too many funerals. I've spoken at too many memorial services. 14 aviators lost in 2 years. 3 aviators just on my watch, as well as the loss of a Marine Safety and Security Team member. We've also had several boat accidents, and this is unprecedented, it's unacceptable, and we've got to do something about it. Now, some of these incidents are still under investigation, and we will implement many of the recommendations from these investigations, including the results of the Aviation Safety Assessment. However, we don't need to wait for the results of investigations to take corrective actions now as we assess risk and how we operate. We need to act now. For over 2 centuries, in spite of often old and obsolete equipment, the strength of our service has been our incredibly talented and professional people. Now, I have no doubts at all about the quality and dedication of our people, but I fear that our focus on reorganization and expanding missions post 9/11 has taken the edge off our skills across the service, and particularly our seamanship and airmanship skills. In many cases, the pace of change in operations has placed our focus on simply training to levels of qualification. Let me give you some examples. You can take your crew to the small arms range and get them qualified. You can get a boat coxswain qualified. You can get a boarding team member qualified. You can get a marine inspector qualified. You can get an air crewman qualified, but qualification is a minimum standard. Now, don't get me wrong, qualification is important. Qualification is a significant step in your professional development. It's a certification by your commanding officer or your supervisor that you've not only completed the requirements to perform your duties, but that you've also exhibited the necessary judgment. But being qualified, however, is only the first step. Qualification does not make you proficient. It does not make you an expert. The maritime environment makes any human endeavor more complex and more challenging. We cannot stop at qualification. We have to change our focus. We need to train to proficiency and retain proficiency. In order to achieve proficiency in our most needed activities and capabilities, we may need to reduce the range of activities and capabilities. this is acceptable. And I want to repeat that. We may need to reduce the number and range of capabilities we've added since 9/11 until properly resourced, and this will be acceptable. I openly acknowledge that the Coast Guard does not have the resources to perform at 100% in every one of our statutory missions on any given day. I expect Coast Guard leaders to make daily decisions on how to allocate the finite resources across the mission set. We must set priorities and limits. This is a leadership issue. We will resource, prepare, and train to perform the most essential missions professionally, effectively, and efficiently. Accordingly, I've directed our Force Readiness Command to develop standards and training that differentiate between qualification and proficiency. And I've directed our personnel staffs to work with the Force Readiness Command to create a system that provides the resources and incentivizes our personnel to achieve and maintain proficiency. This includes taking a hard look at our personnel policies. Once we provide our people with the training and the experience to achieve proficiency, we should not be too quick to transfer them. Doing so is a waste of resources. It often has a negative impact on our mission performance and people, not to mention the impact on our families. It makes no sense. Rather, we need to ensure their expertise is maintained at the units where it's needed most. There's value in stability and continuity. Most importantly, I've also ordered a stem-to-stern review of our deployable specialized forces and their concept of operations. We've allocated significant resources to these units if we're going to perform these operations, and we will in some form. We're going to do it right. This begins with determining their required capabilities, resourcing them appropriately, and then training them to proficiency. Nothing more, nothing less. It also requires developing new screening, selection, assignment, and retention policies for the Coast Guardsmen assigned to these units. Further, we're going to take a look at the U.S. Coast Guard Deployable Operations Group and determine its appropriate organizational placement and responsibilities. We'll also continue to implement and refresh our Marine Safety Performance Plan. I want to make certain that our move to discontinue the Marine Safety Units, along with the creation of sectors, did not create an obstacle to growing Marine Safety Inspection Specialists of the future. We need to ensure we have sufficient numbers of inspectors, investigators, and prevention officers, and that they are keeping pace with the maritime industry. Now, our can-do attitude is both a blessing and a curse. Too often, we've pursued activities and capabilities that we were neither asked to do, or tasked to do, or resourced to do. Before we take on any new initiatives, we're going to take a hard look at their impact on our people, operations, and logistics. We're going to cost them out and ensure we understand the full ramifications. Taking these steps to sustain mission excellence will advance us along our track line towards honoring our profession, steadying our service, and most importantly, respecting our shipmates. Recapitalizing and building capacity is our second challenge. In his State of the Union address, President Obama outlined his plan on how America is going to win the future. Well, in order for the Coast Guard to win the future, we need to continue recapitalizing our fleet. And by fleet, I mean cutters, aircraft, boats, as well as shore infrastructure. No one disputes the woeful condition of our over 40-year-old 378-foot high-endurance cutters and our 210-foot medium-endurance cutters. In my opinion, they cannot be replaced too soon. The good news is we're making progress. We've brought 2 state-of-the-art national security cutters into operation. The third cutter, Stratton, was recently christened by First Lady Michelle Obama in July and is 75% complete. We've just signed the contract for the 4th hull, the Hamilton, and we've also purchased materials to set up the construction process for hull number 5. But we're replacing 12 high-endurance cutters with only 8 national security cutters. Our concept of operations for layered maritime security, particularly in the Pacific, makes it essential that we get all 8. I just returned from a visit to Pacific area, and the highlight of my trip was spending a day aboard the national security cutter Weishi. I can tell you firsthand that the national security cutter is the most capable and technologically advanced ship that we've ever had. but it's not extravagant. It's a suitable replacement for our Hamilton-class cutters. It was moving to watch Wasey's crew beam with pride as they demonstrated her capabilities. I'd like to mention also that I visited Boutwell. This is not in the speech, but I visited Boutwell while I was out there. And I'm very proud of our cuttermen who are still out there keeping those 40-year-old ships going as well, because it's a challenge. We owe them better for all the hard work that they put in. And it's equally important to provide our Coast Guard men and women with a vessel that has state-of-the-art habitability. Our people deserve it, and they relish the opportunity to serve in these ships. Their pride will continue to translate into mission success. We're also making good progress on our HC-144 Ocean Sentry Maritime Patrol aircraft. We now have a fleet of 11 with 3 more on order. We're also very pleased with our HC-130J models. Its state-of-the-art engineering, avionics, and sensor systems have had impressive results detecting drug smugglers and prosecuting search and rescue cases. We expect delivery of 2 additional C-130J models in 2014, which will bring our fleet up to 8. Since we'll have 8, we plan to transition 1 Pacific Area air station to become a second C-130J base to take full advantage of its endurance and its range. And we expect to see the first delivery of a planned 58 Sentinel-class fast response cutters this year. The fast response cutter will replace our Island-class 110-foot patrol boats. The FRCs are capable of speeds of 28+ knots. They hold a mixed-gender crew of 23 and are outfitted with command and control systems that are fully compatible with our DHS and DoD partners. The FRCs will be a real game changer in our ability to patrol and protect the littorals. And because I so strongly believe that every one of our new officers, regardless of the specialty they ultimately choose, should start off by going to sea, I'm putting 2 ensigns on every FRC. All the cadets, I'm sure, are cheering at the Academy right now. I'm also proud to tell you that the fast response cutters are named after some of our enlisted heroes, Coast Guard men and women whose deeds and lives exemplify our core values of honor, respect, and devotion to duty, but whose powerful stories have for too long gone untold. Naming the fast response cutters after unsung enlisted heroes will serve to reunite us with stories of these heroic Coast Guard men and women. And our acquisition team is also working to develop the replacement for our medium endurance cutter fleet, the offshore patrol cutter. We plan on building 25 OPCs. We're currently working with our partners and industry representatives to develop the OPC's requirements and an affordable, I repeat, affordable acquisition strategy. But make no mistake, acquiring a capable OPC is critical to our long-term mission effectiveness. Now, every good Coast Guardsman keeps a weather eye to windward, and it's clear there's been a change in the weather. Our nation is facing serious fiscal challenges. Now, in regard to sailors, William Arthur Ward once wrote, "The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, and the realist trims the sails." Or as Joseph Conrad wrote more bluntly, "Any fool can carry on, but a wise man knows when to shorten sail." Well, it's time to adjust the sails. As we work to recapitalize, we will do our utmost to ensure we are good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, and we will seek savings in administrative services, overhead, and non-operational activities. But unless we continue to update our ships, planes, and boats and improve our shore stations, we will not be able to maintain an acceptable level of readiness to take care of our missions. More with less is no longer an acceptable option. Without continued recapitalization, we will not be semper paratus. So I'm working closely with Secretary Napolitano to ensure the American people understand this. Our third challenge is enhancing crisis management and response. Over the past decade, crisis management and response has evolved into one of our core competencies. Our performance in Deepwater Horizon, the Haitian earthquake, and recent hurricane responses was outstanding. Although we've had a good track record to date, we can't rest on our success. We must build on the many lessons learned to further enhance our abilities, both as a service and as individuals. We need to ensure we're ready for the next response. Our fourth challenge is preparing for the future. We need to be focused not just on what we see, but what's over the horizon. Many challenges, both external and internal, are looming, and I'd like to discuss just two that are very important to me today. The first is diversity. We've made great progress in executing our diversity strategic plan, but we have significant gaps which require us to continue our efforts. I recently visited the Coast Guard Academy where I met with the admissions staff. They're reaching into communities that where the Coast Guard is not well known and working hard to recruit our future. The Academy's made great strides to increase the Corps of Cadets diversity. But on the other end, at a more local level, during my visit to Pacific area last week, I was inspired by their outreach with the Oakland Military Institute, a local college preparatory school. OMI does not have a basketball court, so OMI plays their games at our Alameda gym. This has exposed OMI students to our service, and they've visited the surrounding Coast Guard units. It's sparked student interest in joining our ranks. Initiatives like this are critical to recruiting our future workforce. But recruiting alone is not enough. I need you, the commanding officers, supervisors, and every Coast Guardsman to create command climates that foster retention. The repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell will also require your leadership. I'm counting on you to exercise it. It's every Coast Guardsman's job to make the workplace one of respect. You must value your shipmates no matter what their background. The other issue that's of importance to me and to us, and I think to our country, is the Arctic. Our nation has significant strategic interest in the emerging Arctic waters. Retreating ice has spurred an increase in maritime activity. Increased activity means increased Coast Guard responsibilities. Our service is no stranger to Arctic operations. We've been protecting our nation's Arctic interests since 1867, when we were literally the federal government in the territory of Alaska. During the Cold War, we resupplied the Distant Early Warning Line, or DEW line. It was not by accident when in 1957 the cutters Spar, Storis, and Bramble became the first vessels to circumnavigate the North American continent through the Northwest Passage. For the past 3 years, we've been conducting seasonal Arctic operations. We've learned a lot by testing our assets and procedures and working closely with our partners, including Alaska Natives and Native tribal governments and communities that don't have the ability, and we found that we don't have the ability and at this juncture the resources to operate as effectively as we need to, especially in the Arctic's far reaches. Arctic operations are challenging and expensive. Crews require special and recurrent training. Equipment must be designed to withstand harsh sub-zero conditions. So we're fully engaged in ongoing Arctic and ocean policy discussions, and we're continuing to partner with other Arctic nations. We're working with the Arctic Council on an Arctic search and rescue agreement. We're committed to leading and, where appropriate, supporting our national Arctic policy. But if we are serious about protecting our Arctic and the national interests and resources, then we must make the investment to do so. And we've also had some significant accomplishments in the first 8 months of this voyage together. We're very fortunate that the 111th Congress passed the Coast Guard Authorization Act of 2010. I want to thank the Congress for its support. The Authorization Act, among other things, provided us with the authority to make some final decisions regarding our reorganization effort known as modernization. We're presently working hard to implement those decisions. We're retaining 2 area commands, and we've created a 3-star Deputy Commandant for mission support and a 3-star Deputy for operations. I'm very pleased with the progress to date of our mission support organization. The logistics support of our operational forces continues to improve as the mission support construct matures. We will also retain the Force Readiness Command, or FORCECOM, but at a more modest level. FORCECOM is responsible for developing standards and training and ensuring consistency between the 2 areas' operational and deployable forces. FORCECOM will be commanded by a Rear Admiral and placed under the Deputy Commandant for mission support. While the build-out of these commands is ongoing, it is a giant step towards completing modernization and steadying our service. We're also steadying the service by working to complete sectors. We created sectors by combining our Marine Safety and Operations Ashore commands. In many cases, however, we've yet to co-locate the Legacy Marine Safety Office with the Legacy Group Office. For example, we established Sector Southeastern New England by joining Group Woods Hole with MSO Providence. However, the physical location of these operations has not moved. It's inefficient. And this is true for most of our sectors throughout the Coast Guard. Co-location requires construction and relocation, so it's costly. And it's going to be a long-term challenge, but we must continue to pursue co-location so we can fully leverage the sector concept and get its promised efficiencies and operational capabilities. We're also working to strengthen our partnerships. As Secretary Napolitano said in her Homeland Security address last month, quote, "The kinds of threats we are now faced with demonstrate that our Homeland Security is a shared responsibility. Only a whole-of-nation approach will bring us to the level of security and resilience we require," end quote. Just don't step into good partnerships when the GQ alarm goes off. Partnerships are forged over time through interaction and mutual respect. Our partnerships become increasingly important in a challenging budget environment. That's why I want Coast Guard leaders at every level to be focused on strengthening them. And this is why I'm also focused on longer active duty tour lengths. Longer tour lengths will enable our active duty personnel to build and sustain partnerships with the side benefit of building proficiency and family stability. We're also working to respect our shipmates. Respecting our shipmates is about people. It's about truly caring for one another. In fact, our Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, Mike Levitt, uses caring as one of his principles. Caring is just not humanitarian interest in morale and welfare. It's also the ability to inspire, mentor, and encourage people to greater levels of performance, to set the bar high, pursuing perfection, like Vince Lombardi said. Likewise, leaders must display the strength of character to hold subordinates accountable for lapses in performance and behavior. Now, on the administration side, we're truly blessed to have a First Lady like Michelle Obama, who has made support of military families one of her signature initiatives. And we're also grateful to be in a department focused on strengthening military families. Linda and I were fortunate to be invited to the White House several weeks ago for Mrs. Obama's military family kickoff event. And it was great to see our Deputy Secretary, Jane Hall-Lute, standing with the other senior administration officials supporting our service families. Today, I'm proclaiming this year the Year of the Coast Guard Family. Greater detail will follow in a future All-Coast message, but we will place renewed focus on ensuring that our housing, child care development centers, and other family support programs are the best they can be. Linda and I are fully dedicated to this. While I visited our commands in the Pacific area last week, Linda, along with the leaders of our housing program, toured Coast Guard housing in Alameda, Novato, Concord, and Petaluma. Linda does the same thing everywhere we travel together. She's a real force multiplier. I don't pay her very much, so I'm really happy she took the job. We're also committed to providing our Coast Guard families with the best support possible. And I know many of our shipmates are as well, because it's evidenced by the many self-help projects we've seen where you have undertaken your personal time to enhance the quality of our housing and communities. The 111th Congress also helped as well. They provided us with the long-sought authority to take money from selling Coast Guard property and reinvest it in our housing and child development centers. This money used to just go back into the general treasury. Now we can use it to improve our Coast Guard communities, and I'm very hopeful that the first 3 properties that we will sell to put back into our Coast Guard communities is the former Commandant's house, Vice Commandant's house, and Chief of Staff's house, because we're in public housing now. What, you like me in public housing? It's a public-private venture, and we need to get into that as well, because it's paying great dividends for our Department of Defense shipmates. We're also privileged to have so many shipmates like our work-life staff, health service professionals, and chaplains whose full-time job it is to take care of us. And of course, we're supported by an unbelievable group of volunteers like our many ombudsmen. I'm very pleased to announce that we now have a new full-time ombudsman position, and the Vice Commandant will not like this, but I'm going to commit to placing at least 2 more full-time ombudsmen in our field commands. It's not that she doesn't like it, she just has to come up with the billets. So let's get back to the state of the Coast Guard. You know, people often ask me when they're introduced to me, because of their unfamiliarity with the Coast Guard, they say, "So what do you do?" Well, my immediate response is, I'm a Coast Guardsman. But I understand that that's sometimes difficult for them to understand, and not everybody knows everything that we do. But what I tell them when I have the opportunity is that no one else can do everything that we do. We protect citizens from the sea. We protect America from threats delivered by the sea, and we protect the sea itself. We are a military service, a federal law enforcement agency, and our nation's lead maritime first responder with a mandate and a bias to act. We are locally based, nationally deployed, and globally connected. To meet the future demands of our maritime system, we must sustain mission excellence, recapitalize and build capacity, enhance crisis response and management, and prepare for the future. Now, in 1963, President John Kennedy challenged our country in a much more eloquent statement of Lombardi's challenge to the Packers. A lot of you have heard me use this quote before. It's one of my favorites. And in that quote, he challenged our country to go to the moon in that decade and do all those other things, not because it was easy, but because it was hard. Just like Lombardi understood the need to raise the bar because of his personal character, which was developed during playing sports, Kennedy understood because he had character-building experiences as a sailor, as a Navy man, and as a ship captain. But Coast Guardsmen over the course of 2 centuries have understood the challenges of resource constraints and dangerous missions. But we've always had each other. We've always had meaningful work that provided for the safety and security of our country. We are blessed by our people, our missions, and our heritage. For over 220 years, we've been everywhere America's needed us to be. We're on scene today, adapting for tomorrow, and always ready. This is our chosen profession. This is our way. This is what we do. We are the men and women of the United States Coast Guard. Thanks to all of you. It is my honor and privilege to be serving with all of you. Thank you for everything that you do. Semper Paratus. God bless our country and our service. Thank you.